Greetings, students. This is Mrs. Lancaster, and I'll be doing all of your lectures and PowerPoints in this course. So you'll know that it's your instructor and not some canned presentation, and I'm sure that I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. What we want to look at today is what is project management. So we'll be going through chapter 1. The unit outcomes are important so that you understand why you're learning this and why I've given you the assignments that are there. So we want to understand and discuss the difference between project management and process management. We want to recognize the key motivators that are pushing organizations to project management and identify the competitive advantage that project management provides. So, projects have become the best way for organizations to achieve competitive advantage. What do I mean by that? Well, before project management really got going in organizations, they were dealing with a less competitive environment than they are today. Today, with globalization, they are competing in international markets. And so the old days of where we made the same parts over and over and over again in process management are gone. Companies not only have to satisfy their customers, but they have to be innovative and on the cutting edge with new products coming out all the time. So projects, unlike repetitive tasks, have a beginning, a process, and an end, and have a specific purpose. If you could think about some of the wild projects that have been going on in our world, for example, Elon Musk, think about SpaceX going to the space station and sending 2 astronauts there, and at the time of this recording, they haven't come back to Earth yet. So that was a project. It had the phase of coming up with a project, then planning, which took longer than execution, then execution, where they built the rocket and trained the astronauts, and then finally, when they come back to Earth and do a debrief, they will have termination of that project. And the next time they go, or when they go to the moon, it will be a brand new project. So how have companies become fast to market, efficient, and cost-conscious, and customer-focused? Well, it's projects that have done that. And before projects got to be so popular, when we were working within just a functional organization, companies didn't think they could do all of these things. They thought they could do one or the other, but not all of them. So they've developed and committed themselves to project management as a competitive tool. As we said, projects have finite parameters. Their purpose is to fill a customer's requirements, whether internal or external customers. So projects are the principal means that we can change the world. In functional organizations, as I mentioned, we usually have standard departments: accounting, human resources, manufacturing, operations, engineering. And those departments have supervisors that people in those departments report to. And there's little cross-functional communication between those departments because each one of them are doing a specific task. And before the advent of project management, and part of the reason it was so disruptive is because when people are pulled from those functional areas to go on a project team, now they either have to report both to the project manager and also to the functional manager, and that caused conflict. So many companies have a strict project section, and we're not doing as much cross-functional pulling as we were. We hire people specifically for a project, and that's brought about a great change in business organizations. So, project success. There are many ways a project can be successful. The primary key here that you'll see in a minute is customer satisfaction. But success can prove to be elusive because how does one measure the success of a project? Is it just about customer satisfaction? What about time? Projects are constrained by a specified period of time during which they must be completed. So a project is not meant to continue indefinitely. So the project should come in on or before its established schedule. Then there's budget. A second key constraint for all projects is a limited budget. And they must meet the budget requirements for them to be efficient as possible. So, the basic project raises the second limit on a project raises the question: was the project completed with budget guidelines? Finally, performance. All projects are developed in order to adhere to some initially determined technological specifications. So going back to our rocket, obviously if it never got off the ground, performance would have suffered and the project would have failed. I don't know if his project came in on budget. I do know, however, that he as a customer was satisfied because the rocket made it to the space station. So this was called the triple constraint, and it once was a standard by which project performance was routinely assessed. However, today, and you may notice that we're using the latest edition of the textbook, another criterion has been added to these three, and you can see the figure on figure 1.7 on page 16 of your text. The old triple constraint included time, budget, and performance, but the new quadruple constraint is client acceptance. It argues that projects are developed with customers or clients in mind, and their purpose is to satisfy customers' need. So companies that strictly evaluate project success according to the original triple constraint may fail to apply the most important test of all: the client satisfaction with the completed project. So, project management has become one of the most popular tools for organizations, and it gives them competitive advantage. The advantage means they are now quick to market, quick to change, quick to respond to customers' demands, and are able to do that within the confines of a project. At one time, companies thought they couldn't do all of these things at once because they were deeply involved in process management where there were repetitive tasks, and bringing new things to market wasn't all that important because they weren't in the international competitive environment that they find themselves in today. Think about Apple Computing. Apple Computing brings to market a new iPhone every 2 to 3 years. And so they've got process management going on when they're building the previous edition of the iPhone in their manufacturing process, and that is repetitive. But in the meantime, they've got project teams going on to build the next great one. And those projects have a beginning, an execution, and an end when we finally go to process management to build the new phones. Now, there are many qualities that a successful project manager needs to exhibit. You're going to be writing a job description for project management, so so pay particular attention to this section in your text. As we said, project management needs good communication skills. Think about bringing people from all these different functional areas that may not talk the engineering talk. The engineers don't talk the accounting talk, but the project manager has to understand all of these things and communicate effectively with every member of his team. Project manager has to have good communication skills, critical thinking skills, because they're going to be observing, procuring, planning, organizing, staffing, executing the project. So all through there, a project manager has to be able to think. He or she also has to have good collaboration skills to work with different members of the team and in the cross-functional environments that he's going to find himself in. Must have a good moral and ethical compass. He's going to be responsible for the team members. She's going to have to make decisions on the budget and be responsible for that budget. So we must have a good moral and ethical compass. And then the ability to apply their knowledge to various situations. Lots of things happen during a project. Just imagine the project managers for Apple. They're going to be concerned with planning the new features of the phone. Then they're going to be looking for setting up the schedule and the budget. Then they're going to be executing the project and testing, retesting, building the phone, of course, testing, more testing, making sure that the phone works correctly. And once they've determined that it does, then there'll be a termination to that project. It will go into process management, and they'll go on to the next project. So, what is project management? We've talked about the definition of project management. It has a beginning, a process, and an end. It's for a specific purpose for a predetermined set of time, and it has a predetermined budget. We've talked about the difference between project management and process management. Recognize the key motivators that are pushing organizations to project management, being quick to market, quick to change, innovative. And then we've identified the competitive advantage that project management provides. It's absolutely imperative to be competitive in today's global market. So that's chapter 1. Hope you enjoyed it.